Welcome to America's Summit Online from Amazon Web Services. This session is Compute 203. My name is Ashish Palekar, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to power your workloads with 8 new features from Amazon Elastic Block Store. My role at AWS, I lead product management for Elastic Block Store, which means part of my job is listening to our customers, getting feedback from you, and making sure we are building the right type of products for you. So with that as the context, let's think about what block storage offerings mean in the AWS context. We have the Amazon EBS volumes. We have snapshots, which are point-in-time copies of EBS volumes. We also have instance storage. And then we have data services, which are capabilities like elastic volumes, or functionality that is built on top like data lifecycle management. Today, we will focus on the first 3 pillars, which is EBS volumes, snapshots, and data services. So when customers choose EBS, what are some of the reasons that they choose EBS for? It is really about performance for a wide variety of workloads. It's about ease of use, choosing the right volume, choosing the right capacity. It's about high reliability with availability in the 5 nines and an annual failure rate between 0.1 to 0.2%. It's about being able to scale to literally what your business needs. It's about security, and we'll talk about some of the features a little later. And it's about being cost-effective and having a range of options that you can choose for your workload. And really, EBS spans the gamut of workloads, from enterprise applications like SAP ERP, Oracle ERP, SharePoint, Exchange, to relational databases like MySQL, Postgres, Oracle Database, HANA, to non-relational NoSQL databases, to big data analytics like Splunk, Hadoop, data warehousing, and all the way to file and media processing. Think CIFS, NFS, think media rendering, transcoding. So today, I'm going to touch base on all the things that we've been busy doing for you within EBS. This is all the launches that we've had in our service since 2019, right? There's launches in the volume bucket, there's improvements in the snapshots bucket, there's new data services that we've launched, and there is improvements in the performance between instance to EBS. Now, if you've not had a chance to go through all of these, hold on. We are going to dive into each of these features and cover 8 of them that we think you should incorporate as part of your workloads in order to save cost, improve performance, and in general, optimize your workload. All right, so let's now begin with EBS volumes. I'm going to talk to you about features that introduce greater performance, availability, and security. Before we dive into the security security improvements that we've made, let's talk a little bit about encryption. Now, EBS volumes are integrated with Amazon Key Management Service, KMS. We use an AES 256 encryption key, and you can use customer master keys, or CMKs. Encryption has some interesting side benefits. If you encrypt an EBS volume, then data at rest is encrypted. Data in transit between an instance and a volume is encrypted. Snapshots created from that volume are encrypted. And then volumes that are created from such snapshots are also encrypted. So the first innovation that I'm going to talk about is enabling account-level encryption by default. So some of our customers want to ensure that all EBS volumes are encrypted. And prior to this release, what customers had to do was essentially create IAM policies that prevented their customers from launching volumes that were unencrypted. In other words, if you were launching an unencrypted volume, your workflows broke. Or what some other customers would do is, if their end customers launched an unencrypted volume, then they as administrators would encrypt the volume on their customer's behalf, detach the unencrypted volume, attach the new encrypted volume, and then off the end customers would go. In either ways, this was operationally challenging. And so what we launched in May of last year is this capability for account-level encryption by default, where with a single account-level regional setting, you can now ensure that all your EBS volumes are encrypted by default, right? That are essentially all new EBS volumes that are created from that point forward are encrypted. And behind the scenes, because of the properties of encryption, snapshots created from that volume are also encrypted. And so you now can transition from having unencrypted volumes to having volumes that are fully encrypted. And that is the cool part, is without change to any of your existing workflows, you can ensure that newly created volumes and snapshots are fully encrypted. In the same security realm, one of the other capabilities that we talked about is sharing of encrypted snapshots in AMIs, or Amazon Machine Images, across accounts and regions. So the scenario was this. A lot of our customers have snapshots that they share across different teams or across different accounts. And oftentimes, they want to ensure that they can launch encrypted volumes in a second account. If your source volume is encrypted, the challenge is that you cannot share that snapshot with another account. And what that meant is customers would have to copy that encrypted snapshot and then launch an encrypted volume from that snapshot. In other words, it cost them money and it took time to copy that snapshot over. So listening to this pain point, what we launched was the ability to share a snapshot or an AMI that is encrypted with a custom CMK across accounts. So now you can take an EBS snapshot, share it with another account, and that second account can now launch an encrypted volume without having to copy that snapshot over. In other words, saving you time and effort. The important thing to remember here is this capability of being able to share snapshots, encrypted snapshots, works with snapshots that are encrypted with custom CMKs. It does not work with AWS managed keys or default keys because they cannot be shared across accounts. So if you have a snapshot that is encrypted with a custom CMK, you can take advantage of this feature, share your snapshot across accounts, and directly launch encrypted volumes. Innovation number 3 in this bucket. Up until February of this year, customers were able to connect EBS volumes to a single EC2 instance. In other words, an EBS volume could be attached to one and only one instance. So in February, one of the things that we launched is a capability known as multi-attach, which means that a single provisioned IOPS volume can now be attached to up to 16 EC2 Nitro instances within the same AZ. All those attached instances now share the provision performance of the volume and therefore can connect to that same volume. This is a core capability that is necessary for certain types of clustered applications. The important thing to remember is that EBS is not doing storage fencing or IO fencing at the storage layer, which means you need applications that can coordinate IO across nodes without using storage level IO fencing. The use case that this enables is applications that either need high availability for failover or have use cases that they can manage their IO fencing, or that can do a read-level, read-only IO shared access, can benefit from using the performance of EBS. And here is a customer example. So Zoom Agri is a fast-growing startup that is changing how customers process what are essentially barley grains and analyze the quality of barley grains. Their flagship product is Zoom Barley. And prior to multi-attach, what they would be doing is taking these 50 million plus small files, think 40 kilobytes of image files of barley grains, and putting it on a P3DN node. As you can imagine, this would take time in terms of copying it to n number of nodes, and cost, because you're scaling those individual number of nodes. Instead, what they're able to do with multi-attach is be able to take those small files, copy them once into a provisioned IOPS volume. And because this application, which is Zoom Barley, is a read application, it is now able to take that shared access, use multi-attach, and decrease the amount of time it takes to improve their analysis time. Thus, using multi-attach, Zoom Agri is able to reduce the time to analytics in terms of the barley grains that they have, and that leads to better quality beer. So if you're wondering, yes, this is how EBS is raising the beer quality. And then again, on the volume side, one of the channels to think about is the channel between EC2 instances and EBS volumes. So at reInvent this year, what we announced was increasing the performance between EC2 instances and EBS, referred to as EBS-optimized throughput, by 36%, increasing from 14 gigabits per second to 19 gigabits per second. So what that means is, if you as a customer have a workload that is throughput bound, that is EBS throughput bound, and you were using more instances to scale up the amount of performance to EBS, then you can use fewer instances now and take advantage of that 36% improved performance, saving you cost while accomplishing exactly what you were before. So again, awesome innovation for customers to take advantage of and reduce cost and optimize their workflow. Now that we covered volumes, let's turn our attention to snapshots and data services. Here, I'm going to talk about features that enable simpler and faster backup and restore. So, snapshots are used to create EBS volumes. And when you're thinking about creating data or bringing data from snapshots into EBS volumes, that data is lazily loaded. What that means is it is pulled up on an as-needed basis. Now, that works for a lot of customers and it works for a lot of applications. However, some of our customers who have random access workloads and as an example, databases, or need their application to be fully performant right when the volume is created, what that led to is accessing different parts of the EBS volume that had not yet loaded data from our snapshots. And what that meant is the customers would encounter what we would refer to as a get fault, which means an increased latency for that particular I/O. To work around this, our customers had created different processes such as pre-warming. And what they would do is take an EC2 instance, attach it to an EBS volume, and essentially do a block walkthrough of that EBS volume, which meant using something like FIO or iometer. Now, customers have come to us and said, well, what can you do about it? And so in November, what we launched is a capability known as Fast Snapshot Restore. What Fast Snapshot Restore does is it allows you to take a regular snapshot, enable that snapshot for FSR within a single AZ. It starts to take the process and make the snapshot available to load volumes. And after it's done with its initialization, you can now launch up to 10 volumes simultaneously from an FSR-enabled snapshot, right? And the data is loaded from a snapshot in the initialization phase at the rate of about 1 terabyte an hour. And what that means is you are able to load data and not have to do any of the pre-warming that you previously had to. In other words, you can get to a predictable, fast, scalable access while saving you cost. And the net result for customers is you can achieve up to 6 times lower recovery times for your end use cases. Again, if your workload needs the kind of random access patterns, has the kind of random access patterns and needs performance right at the get-go, use FSR. And you can enable it within our data lifecycle manager or on a per snapshot basis. The next capability in the snapshots realm is what we call multi-volume crash consistent snapshots, a very common pattern that customers use in order to get more performance from their EBS volumes, or more aggregate performance from the EBS volumes, is to stripe volumes together. And what that means is you have multiple volumes that are attached to the same EC2 instance. The net result of that is if you now want to take a snapshot of these multiple volumes, previously, what customers would do is pause I/O at the EC2 instance level and then take a snapshot of each of the attached volumes. Right? In other words, they were doing the heavy lifting of coordinating the snapshot across these different volumes. After having looked at the problem and wanting to address this, what we launched is a new API called Create Snapshots, snapshots with a plural S, which now allows you to take with a single API a crash consistent cut of your multiple EBS volumes attached to a single EC2 instance. That API gives you the option of choosing either a boot volume or not choosing a boot volume, which means you can exclude it from the set. And by actually separating your boot from your data volume, you can choose whether you only want your data volume snapshotted or whether you want all of the volumes that are attached to an instance snapshot. Again, solving a major pain point for our customers by allowing you with a single API call to be able to take to be able to take a snapshot, a crash consistent snapshot cut of multiple volumes attached to an EC2 instance. Item number 7 in this capability is something net new. Up until reInvent, one of the things that customers would do with snapshots is create EBS volumes, and that was the only way that you could access data from a snapshot. And the only way you could create a snapshot is again from an EBS volume. In other words, snapshots served as sort of the backup data store. As we started to look at snapshots, one of the things that customers came to us and said is, why not allow us to access the data within a snapshot? And this is especially true within some of our backup partners. And what backup partners would do is they store their backup data within S3 in their own proprietary format. And the way they would achieve this is they would start with an EBS volume that the customer is using, take snapshot A, which was the base snapshot. Then after some point in time, take another snapshot, which is snapshot B. Then generate EBS volumes from each of those snapshots, and then compare the diff set between those volumes before storing that diff set or change blocks in S3. What that resulted in is this convoluted procedure, which would result in more time that is needed to create backups, which meant that you couldn't take backups as frequently, thus reducing your recovery point objective. Second, it also meant that there was higher cost because you now have to create volumes and you have to manage volumes. And the third is you're managing all of this infrastructure, and it takes time to do this, which meant that your RPOs also suffered. So listening to this pain point, what we innovated on is giving our customers what are known as EBS Direct Read APIs. So these APIs allow customers to directly access snapshots and either read a single snapshot or compare between two snapshots. If you pass two snapshots in a lineage, you can now compare snapshot A and snapshot B and only get the change blocks between them. And what that allows our partners to do is now with a single API call, accomplish what they were previously taking an entire cycle to achieve. And the results are there to see. And this is our partner Commvault, and what they shared with us on stage at reInvent. They took a look at a constant at an EC2 instance with 100 GB volume with a consistent rate of change, and using this, they were able to eliminate their scan and their scan process. And now they went from what would traditionally take a 20-minute process to just 3 minutes, right? And that scan process now results in reducing the total time to backup. And now think about compounding this with over hundreds of EBS volumes attached to hundreds of EC2 instances. And the savings and the the cost savings and the time savings really start to add up. So if you're a customer that's using a backup provider that now supports EBS Direct APIs, you should look at using this new capability to help you reduce cost, time, increase the frequency of backups, and reduce your recovery point objectives. Switching gears, the next item on the list is our Data Lifecycle Manager product. Data Lifecycle Manager is a policy-based snapshot manager that allows you to create and delete snapshots based on a schedule. It uses tags. It allows you to automate your backup schedule and creates an automated backup retention management infrastructure, and it's available free for use. So DLM was launched in July of 2018, and initially it had essentially two backup schedules: a 12-hour schedule and a 24-hour schedule. Over the last year, we have been innovating at a furious pace, and so now you can create backups at 1 hour, 2 hours, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24-hour schedules. And so you now have the flexibility to set these backup windows based on how you want to take your snapshots. We've also updated our retention schedules to now allow you to store snapshots based on retention time, based on the age of the snapshot, rather than just the count. And a few weeks ago, we've also launched a new capability that allows you to use cron expressions to schedule input for your DLM policies. So in other words, the DLM now gives you a comprehensive tool set between time-based management, between flexibility of schedules, and the use of cron expressions to create and manage your backup schedules, and all this for no cost. While I was intending to talk about 8 new features, here's a new one that we've just launched. And so think of this as a bonus feature for helping you optimize your snapshot infrastructure. In DLM, we've now enabled cross-region snapshot copy, a very common pattern for customers, especially for customers who have deployments across many regions, is to take snapshots within one region and either for DR reasons or regional scale reasons, copy that snapshot over to another region. And so customers came and asked us to help with that pattern. And so now what we've enabled is the ability to do a cross-region copy of a snapshot across regions based on a schedule. In doing so, we have now given you the ability to schedule your backup retention policies differently for your source region from your target region. And last but not the least, we also enable you to take multiple retention copies, essentially used for multiple regions, and use variable retention policies across those various regions. So, what are the key takeaways? Our key takeaways really are, when you think about performance, security, and availability for your mission-critical applications, think about EBS, think about the volume types within EBS, and how you can use it to create different different cost points and different experience points for your workloads. When you think about snapshots, think about direct APIs, think about fast snapshot restore on how to create easy backup and restore capabilities. When you think about data lifecycle manager, think about how to enable automation and retention of your snapshots, all the while taking on additional cost savings for your infrastructure. To get started, here are some links for you. Our EBS website, think about EBS-optimized EC2 instances, think about how to create snapshots, snapshot management, and a whole host of other goodies for you to go. And if you're interested in learning about our capabilities, here are some additional resources that are available free of charge on our website, offered by subject matter experts within these capabilities to improve your compute and your storage skills. Happy learning. And with that, thank you for your time today. Thank you for attending this session. Look forward to your feedback and look forward to seeing you optimize and use these new capabilities from EBS snapshots and data services. Thank you.